Come lay down all your worries. Come lay down every chain. Watch him break them all. He will make you whole again. Come lift up highest praises. Exalt the highest name. Watch him move right now as this whole room begins to change. I will bless the name of the Lord. I'll bless the name of the Lord. Before the breakthrough, nothing he can't do. I will bless the name of the Lord. I'll bless the name of the Lord. I know he'll come through. There's nothing he can't do. We lay down all our worries. We lay down every chain. Watch him break them all. He will make us whole again. We lift up highest praises. Exalt the highest name. Watch him move right now as this whole room begins to change. We will bless the name of the Lord. We bless the name of the Lord. Before the breakthrough, nothing he can't do. We will bless the name of the Lord. We bless the name of the Lord. I know he'll come through. There's nothing he can't do. Possible for the one who holds it all. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Everything is possible for the one who holds it all. His name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. Before the breakthrough, there's nothing he can't do. I will bless the name of the Lord. I bless the name of the Lord. I know he'll come through. There's nothing he can't do. I know you'll come through. There's nothing you can't do.
Hey friends, it's Dustin, and I'm so grateful to be able to share with you this week's sermon. Today I want to talk about another lesson that was learned when I was on sabbatical, but was learned with a little bit of difficulty. Because if you know me, you know that I tend to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Even when I was in the fatigue of burnout, in the midst of the early days of the pandemic and all that was occurring in that time, I still found myself with this draw, this sort of impulse within me that I've got to go. I got to do something. I've got to accomplish something. I don't know if you're like me or not, but one of the things that has been challenging about the coronavirus pandemic, especially when we were on lockdown, especially for when things seemed to just halt, was that I was going through days and feeling like I was wasting days, wasting time, wasting my life because I wasn't accomplishing something. Now, I'm not crazy, but I actually think that many of us have probably felt that way, right? I mean, as you're watching this, think through the ramifications of the fact that so often we attach morality to the work that we do. Not whether or not we're working, but we actually say, oh, you did a bad job, or I did a good job. And thus we feel like a good or bad person. I was actually able to press into that, to consider it more deeply when I was on sabbatical. And I had to be confronted by those scary thoughts when I normally would distract myself by just working harder, working more, accomplishing something else. And I believe that we have to ask ourselves, why is this the case? Why have we attached a sense of morality, of right, wrong, good, bad, to our work and to our rest that determine or dictate how we see ourselves, how we judge others, and then how we relate to our God? Now, we could expand the historical ramifications of where this sort of thinking came from, but the short answer is sin. Now, if you need any further evidence as to whether or not this is actually true, think back to the times where we have not met the assumed standard that was either projected on us by others or ourselves in our work. Think back to when we didn't bring home the straight A's and what our parents said to us or how they made us feel about ourselves. Think back to when we were at work and the boss wrote us up. Think back to when we are in the middle of this pandemic and we might not be able to go to work. Think back to when a day might slip away from us and we didn't get that much things done and we feel as though we wasted a day because we didn't produce enough. We weren't productive enough. We didn't get enough things done. Think back and think deep about how we feel and what that implies. We actually feel as though we ourselves are bad, that we ourselves are a mistake, that we ourselves are unloved. If you're tracking with me here and we are honest with ourselves, we're probably going to nod our heads and say, yeah, actually, I have felt that way. I have. And there might be a bit of a pushback if you're watching this. I know there's a pushback in me that goes, well, doggone it, I am supposed to work hard. I'm supposed to work long. And yes, there should be a sense of I'm good or bad attached to my work. But there's a deeper, more insidious sort of spiritual reality that this line of thinking reveals to us. And to further unpack this more, I want us to go back and look in the Gospels at the account of both Jesus's baptism and what occurs immediately after. In Matthew's Gospel, chapter 3, starting verse 16, we read the account of Jesus's baptism. As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was open, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and alighting on him. And a voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, whom I love, and with him I am well pleased." Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It's written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Now, what does this text highlight about this tension that we are discussing? A tension that is magnified by many folks having their work lives altered, maybe because of the pandemic, unemployment, retirement. What does this say about how we navigate our days and why many of us, at least me, feel like I have to constantly fill my time by doing things? What does this text say to that? Well, I find it amazing that the text starts off with Jesus's baptism, and immediately upon Jesus's baptism, Jesus hears God saying the core truth about his identity, that you are my beloved Son, I'm pleased with you. Now, that's remarkable because Jesus hasn't started his ministry yet. He hasn't started doing the stuff yet. He hasn't been very productive yet. Jesus hadn't gotten into any of that yet. And God says, before he does a single thing, I am pleased with you. You are my beloved. You are my son. And the truth of that echoes for you and I. In Christ, we are children of God. You and I are sons and daughters of God. And by that fact alone, we are loved. God is pleased with you, whether you got everything on the to-do list done today or not. Sit in that truth for just a moment. Even if you didn't get everything done today you needed to get done, even if you brought home a poor grade, even if someone else is disappointed in you because of what you did or didn't do in your work, God is pleased with you. That is the core part of our identity. As Henry Nouwen writes, the chief task of our lives is to live out the truth that we are beloved sons and daughters of God. Period. Full stop. But this truth often gets trampled on by us when we say, nope, gotta get things done in order to be loved. I gotta be the best in order to feel accepted. I have to make sure that I'm constantly filling things up so that I can earn merit. The sense of meritocracy, of someone being more valuable based on how much they can or can't produce, flies in the face of the gospel itself. That's why it's no coincidence that immediately after Jesus' baptism, he's tempted in the desert by Satan. And the first temptation from Satan is for Jesus to produce something. And so the devil comes to Jesus and immediately starts poking and prodding at Jesus's identity. If you are really the Son of God. How many times in our lives before we find ourselves getting stuck into rhythms of toxicity, rhythms that take us away from wholeness, rhythms that take us away from relationships, rhythms that take us away from God, it's often done so by a defective view of our own identity. How many times has Satan come to us and said, well, if you're really a child of God, if you're really beloved, if you really want to be loved, if you really want to be accepted, if you really want someone to be pleased in you, then fill in the blank. Then do this, or make sure you don't do that. And that's exactly what the devil does to Jesus. Says, if you are really God's son, then turn these stones into bread. Produce something. Show us something. Make something. Be productive. Now, what I'm not saying is that we should never work again, that jobs are pointless, we should quit them all and just live in pajama pants and eat raw cookie dough all day, although that might not be a bad day off here or there. But what I am saying is that when we start to attach our identity to our work, and we think, I've got to work harder, I've got to work more. And when that is taken away from us and we start to feel the pang of inadequacy, of not feeling like we measure up, that we're not worthwhile, that we wasted a day, that any of these things, there's actually a deeper spiritual truth that we need to critically address immediately. And that is that we really don't deep down believe that we're loved. That we really don't deep down believe that God is pleased with us. That we really don't deep down believe that we're his actual children. Friends, so there's a couple things that I want us to take away from this text. One, you are loved. Without having to do anything, accomplish anything, perform anything, or produce anything, God is pleased with you. God is pleased with you because you are his child. 2, we need to have a little more grace for ourselves in how we approach work, how others approach work. We as the church are to be a different depiction. So this means that we must live out a lifestyle that is counter to a world of Steve Jobs and Google and get this done and all these books to be the most productive version of you and maximize yourself and New Year's resolutions and da 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 da, all of these things that really create an idol that we worship more than Jesus. And the third thing is actually the first thing. Step 3 is going back to step 1, claiming the truth that you are beloved. You and I are children of God, and he is pleased in us. So friends, I hope that this brief message both comforted you and challenged you. I hope that today we can think deeply along the truth that we are God's beloved and that we can walk that out and encourage others to do so as well. We'll see you next time.